everyone. You're watching World is One News. I'm Aisha Sindhu. Before we go anywhere on the bulletin, here's a look at the top stories we're tracking for you right now. Another twist to Pakistan politics. The wife of Nawaz Sharif, the ousted Prime Minister of the country, will be contesting special parliamentary elections, files papers for her candidacy. India's External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj and the Bhutanese Foreign Minister meet in Nepal, call for a peaceful resolution to the Doklam dispute. And amid the Korea crisis erupting every now and then, the US President Donald Trump tweets that his military solutions are fully in place if the North acts unwisely. Jammu and Kashmir's Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti meets the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, discusses the special status of the state, says there should be no meddling with Article 370. But first, an exclusive. The Syrian ambassador to India, Riad Abbas, has shed some light on the plight of the Indians abducted by the terror group ISIS in Iraq's Mosul 3 years ago. In an exclusive interview to WION, Ambassador Abbas says that the Iraqi government has launched search operations in Syria's Raqqa to locate the abducted Indians. Abbas further assured the Iraqi army will do everything it can to bring back the missing Indians. Listen in to this exclusive.
I'm joined by Dr. Abbas, Syrian ambassador to India. Sir, welcome to WION, and my first question to you is, what is the information your government has and you have preened through your sources about the 39 missing Indians?
I heard information from Indian side and Indian media. There is 39 Indian hostage in Iraq, and ISIS took them to Raqqa city. That is why I heard here in India. I passed this information to our government. Our government was very interested on this information, and they give order to our intelligence and army who make siege around Raqqa and told them you have to be cautious by military operation before involving Raqqa. You have to get those information and put good plan. If they are there, to bring them safety to their ground here in India. And there is good relation between our both intelligence, both securities, and they are high-level talks about this issue. I hope if they are in Raqqa, definitely they will come safety here to India.
So it's safe on my part to assume and say that your government has given instructions to the intelligence and security officials to actually look for the missing Indians in the city of Raqqa.
Definitely, they give instruction for our security forces to follow those information. If they are there, definitely, that is why, look my dear, our army can control Raqqa within 5 hours only. We stop it and we give a safety way for civilian to pull out, and for those hostage, if they are inside, to make some deal how to pull them out of this area, if they are there. For those hostage and other foreigner who are hostage in Raqqa city.
Yes.
If they are there, like I see you, I am confident they will come back safety to their ground, and we pray for God to remain in life in this.
Sir, till what time has been given that you'll get back to the Indian government, or your military and the civilian officers or intelligence officers will get back to your government, sir, in terms of a conclusive answer whether they are there in Raqqa or not? Have you given your officers some sort of a timeline, sir?
My dear, since the beginning of this issue, 2 or 3 years back, I don't remember the date. Your government was very keen for your citizen in Iraq when they were hostage in Iraq, and Mr. Rajnath Singh, Home Minister of India, called me to his office and request me to follow this case. And our high-level security intelligence came to India and others from India to Syria for this issue. If they are in Iraq or in Raqqa will put all effort to bring them safety to this area. We deal for those Indian civilian as we deal for our people. We need them to come back safely to their family.
And so last question to you before I let go of you. So when will there be a high-level Indian delegation level meeting between yes, your government and our government in terms of senior representatives? Is it happening soon, sir?
Yes, look, I will not give you indicate date, but I would like to mention for you that you will see during of next month a high-level delegation, mutual delegation will come from Syria and high-level delegation from India to Syria. But what I will mention for you, I put my effort to bring my Prime Minister here to India to enhance the relation between the both countries, especially in economically field, because Syria is the richest country in Middle East and the richest country for gas power.
And so is this high level, I know you will not give me the details, but indications can be given in diplomacy. Is it only going to be a high level official meeting, or is it going to be a high level ministerial meeting?
Ministerial meeting and high level meeting, high level official meeting. Both. There is more than 4 or 5 bilateral visits between the both country. I will tell you one of them, for example, not on politics. The Minister of Higher Education from Syria will come soon to India, for example.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for speaking to WION. So Kartikeya Sharma from Delhi for WION.
In fact, WION's political editor Kartikeya Sharma joins me live on the broadcast right now for more on that exclusive chat. Kartikeya, the ambassador has been more than candid with you. What exactly do you think is the big takeaway from his statement that the search for those missing Indians is well and truly on?
See, there are 3 very important takeaways. For me, the first takeaway is that the Syrian ambassador confirmed to WION that the security and intelligence officials of the Syrian government are looking for the missing 39 Indians. He said that the Raqqa is 5 hours away from the capital, and if we find them, we'll get them back in 5 hours. So that is one very important takeaway. The second important takeaway is that the Syrian ambassador confirmed to us that high-level ministerial delegation from India will be going to Syria. Now, our sources tell us that very soon Sushma Swaraj might be going to Syria, and it tells us 2 things. One, that the realignment which is taking place between the Syrian government and the Trump administration will have a wider impact. For example, it's being reported, Aisha, in the press, that Trump, unlike Obama, is winding down its Syrian program, not funding it, calling it a failure. In that context, for India to engage makes it very, very important. And third takeaway is, India has been one of the most, I would say, important nation in terms of post-war building. I would like to draw your attention, even after when the Cambodian war got over, India was called upon to restore Angkor Wat. Indians, till late, for 4 or 5 years, they were there from the Archaeological Survey of India, restoring Angkor Wat, taking care of it. It's a big complex. People think it's one temple, but it's a huge complex. So India is also thinking in terms of post-war rebuilding process.
Absolutely, Kartikeya, and I think the important takeaway, as you pointed out, is the fact that global dynamics play a big role in this. As you mentioned, President Trump is winding down Syrian operations, or at least that is what reports suggest. How do you see India then capitalizing on, the vacuum, so to speak, that's going to be created? How does India then strengthen its relationship with both Iraq and Syria? Of course, with the intent initially of bringing back the Indians, but really speaking at a larger scale as well.
See, India has to take a different narrative. See, most of the narrative in the West is dominated by the American press. In name of democracy, even if they are authoritarian in nature, they have turned into broken states. You look at all the states on the northern rim of Africa to the West Asia, they are all broken, and they have been broken in name of democracy. Iraq got broken in name of WMDs. Iran is being threatened because it seems to be in possession of so many nuclear missiles, whereas blind eye has been turned when it comes to China, Pakistan, and many other states. So I think India needs to forge its own policy, realign nations which are aligned with India, and work with them closely in terms of economy and terrorism.
Kartikeya, one last question. We spoke of that high-level delegation, as the ambassador pointed out, but in terms of the actual search for those Indians, what sort of active role do you see India playing? Are there any elements you think that India is going to be making sure of as the search for those Indians continues?
I think that's going to be a tough task, search for the Indians. But I think the high-level delegation is important because there's another high-level delegation coming from Syria, and the ambassador told me that he's very much interested the Syria Prime Minister comes to India. And he said this on record. He said that's what he intends to do, to get the Syrian Prime Minister here, which goes on to show that Syria is also wanting to explore new allies or to re-cement old relationships.
Leave it at that, Kartikeya. Thanks very much for both that exclusive chat and, of course, for bringing us up to speed on the implications of the ambassador's statements. In other news, though, the latest on the Korea crisis now, the US President Donald Trump has said that his military solutions are well in place and has warned Kim Jong-un not to act wisely, or rather unwisely. The implications of that statement are yet to be understood entirely. But remember, there has been a war of words going on between the United States and North Korea, with both sides firing off missive after missive. Earlier this week, of course, was that statement from President Trump warning North Korea of retaliating with both fire and fury if the North decided to provoke the United States. Former CIA officer and author Glenn Carl joins me live on the broadcast from the United States for more on that story. Glenn, makes sense of this latest statement. We've seen many members of the Trump administration sort of wind down on the rhetoric on one side, but the president continues to be, well, the president in many ways. He's firing off statement after statement. Is this only making the situation far worse than what most people would hope?
Well, absolutely it's making it worse. You have in the Oval Office a man who has little knowledge of North Korea, international relations, nuclear doctrine, American defense, and the consequences of an act that would bring war to Korea and then damage international relations in the region dramatically. He also is being true to himself, which is that he is bombastic and never, ever will concede any point and always makes outrageous attack-like statements whenever there is any sort of challenge to his authority. Of course, other parties like North Korea have their own interests and have no reason to simply to kowtow. So it is very dangerous, and the statements being made by other representatives of the administration are those of people who may have flaws but are on the whole rational men with a much deeper grasp of international relations and consequences. So it is a dangerous thing to have the equivalent of the drunk at the end of the bar sitting in the Oval Office, yes. And it's astounding that Kim Jong-un is the more rational actor, apparently, of the two.
All right, your words, not mine, Glenn, but in addition to the fact that there are statements being made by people within the Trump administration that seem to belie what the president is putting forth, there's also a lot of international commentary on what's going on. Is the president also dismissing statements from, let's say, France to Russia to China and, of course, the United Nations as well in choosing to continue with the bombastic talk?
Well, he does pay close attention to anything said about him, and of course he will agree with praise and then attack viciously anything that challenges any statement he might make, however empty it might be. So is he paying attention? It will only influence him. He's very easy to manipulate, but in a bizarre way, which is you can have him respond like Pavlov's dog by praise or criticism, stimulus in one way or the other, rather than engaging in an exchange of a rational nature. So cautions to be careful will have some marginal effect, but it's more how to tweak him to get the sort of reflexive emotional response. Now, I will say, and a relatively encouraging reality emerging in this, what passes for this presidential administration, is that members of the cabinet and the national security establishment and the government progressively, frankly, ignore the outrageous things that Trump says. Now, that's hard to do when he is the commander-in-chief, but one example is his statements. He issued a decree that transgender service people would be forced out of service, that it was unhealthy or immoral or something to this effect.
Right.
And the chairman of the Joint Chiefs simply said, well, we'll act upon this when there's a law, essentially ignoring him. Which is actually also a shocking thing, because the chain of command is that the president issues the orders. So one, frankly, can hope and does see that more rational people tend to say, well, he's just engaging in bluster, and then ignore him.
Right, but going beyond the bluster, the rhetoric, people are dubbing it the war of words. How realistic and how big of a threat is the possibility of some sort of military engagement with the North, given how much we know about North Korea and, of course, its missiles program? Just going by what they tell the rest of the world, it seems that they do have or are in possession of military weaponry that is of concern to the United States, I'm sure.
Well, it is. North Korea has been, I would say, the national security establishment's view has been that North Korea is the greatest crisis and the threat facing the international community, and certainly the United States, for the last 25 years. Independent, separate from the fact that we invaded Iraq, North Korea always posed a threat, and Iraq actually did not, so on. So the threats are real. Nobody, even what passes for North Korea's allies, China, wants North Korea to have nuclear weapons or intercontinental ballistic missiles. But how to get them to stop is something that no one has been able to work out, because a military conflict, and North Korea is very willing to use its military. They sink South Korean Navy ships, they kidnap South Koreans, they kidnap Japanese from inside Japan. They shoot across the demilitarized zone on any sort of incident. A leaf can fall, and they view that as a provocation. It is truly a very dangerous circumstance. Now, Trump says that we are locked and loaded, which is a typical Trump tough-sounding thing. Now, it's true the United States has 35,000 soldiers and daunting capabilities in South Korea. But it's also true that we have not, the United States has not deployed additional ships or planes or men. And so therefore an attack of a massive nature is simply not really there. It's not prepared. It took 6 months, and it will probably take less now, but it took 6 months to prepare the invasion of Iraq,
right,
sending 5,000 soldiers. So a lot of this is talk, but it's also true that there are 35,000 soldiers, and America has huge capabilities, and North Korea is very willing to use its extensive capabilities. So this is truly a very dangerous moment with these two men.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about that talk, because there seems to be a schism also in the way the president approaches certain things that perhaps others feel he needs to, give more weightage to. I'm talking about his statement about Russia recently, about the downgrading of diplomatic staff in Moscow. He went ahead and said, we might just end up saving some money. Do you think that the president doesn't often think through what he's saying? And I remember you and I spoke a while earlier about the arrival of John Kelly on the scene and how things might change in the White House hereafter. But clearly that sort of sway isn't being felt over the president.
Well, gosh, where to begin? Trump has little knowledge, no interest, and intellectually is lazy, and yet is very willful. These are not meant as insults. They're meant as characterizations. They are damning and they are alarming. but they are true. Now, Kelly cannot inject an IQ or an inquiring mind into the man sitting in the Oval Office. He can, and I believe there are signs that he has, because he's a highly competent military officer. He can create a more rational process of
Glenn, I'm really sorry. Allow me to come in. I apologize for cutting you off. We have a developing situation here in India right now. But thank you very much, Glenn Carl, for joining us here on the broadcast. We're going to cut across to India's Minister of External Affairs, Sushma Swaraj. She is speaking following the BIMSTEC summit. Listen in.
इलेक्ट्रॉनिक वोटिंग मशीन ईवीएम आ गई तो बटन दबाकर अपने अधिकार का प्रयोग करते हैं, चाहते हैं उसकी सरकार बनाते हैं, चाहते हैं उसकी सरकार बदल देते हैं। एक लोकतंत्र का बड़ा इतिहास भारत ने जो स्थापित किया, उसके लिए केवल लार्जेस्ट या ओल्डेस्ट डेमोक्रेसी की संज्ञा में हम नहीं आते, बल्कि एक सफल और परिपक्व लोकतंत्र की संज्ञा में भारत आता है। और इसीलिए हमारे आस पड़ोस में जहां कहीं भी लोकतंत्र आता है, सबसे ज्यादा आंतरिक खुशी भारत को होती है। आपको याद होगा जब प्रधानमंत्री मोदी यहां आए तो उन्होंने संविधान सभा को संबोधित करते हुए दो ऐसे वाक्य कहे थे जो बाद में नेपाल के जन जन के वाक्य बन गए, घर घर में बोले जाने लगे। उन्होंने कहा नेपाल युद्ध से बुद्ध की तरफ आया है। उन्होंने कहा नेपाल शस्त्र से शास्त्र की तरफ आया है। लेकिन आज जब मैं आई हूं तो आपने नेपाल के लोकतांत्रिक इतिहास में और एक घटनाक्रम जोड़ा है, जिसमें मैं मोदी जी के उन दो वाक्यों में जोड़ना चाहूंगी कि नेपाल अविश्वास से विश्वास की तरफ आया। और मैं इस अध्याय को जोड़ने के लिए दो व्यक्तित्वों को विशेष रूप पर बधाई देना चाहूंगी, आदरणीय प्रचंड जी को और आदरणीय देवबा जी को। प्रचंड जी ने कहा कि अगर आप मुझे पहले प्रधानमंत्री बनाते हैं तो स्थानीय निकायों के बाद मैं पद त्याग कर दूंगा और आपको सत्ता सौंप दूंगा। बड़ी पार्टी होने के बावजूद प्रचंड जी पर भरोसा करके उन्होंने प्रचंड जी को पहले प्रधानमंत्री बनाया। ये देवबा जी का विश्वास था। और उसके बाद अनेक बाधाओं के बावजूद प्रचंड जी ने अपना वादा निभाया और देवबा जी को सत्ता सौंप दी। मैं कहना चाहूंगी आप दोनों व्यक्तित्वों के आचरण ने ये जो नया अध्याय नेपाल के लोकतंत्र में जोड़ा है, ये हमेशा इतिहास में दर्ज होकर नेपाल लोकतंत्र का स्वर्णिम अध्याय के रूप में पढ़ा जाएगा। ये आज इस जगह से खड़े होकर के मैं कहना चाहूंगी। भारत केवल सफल और परिपक्व लोकतंत्र के लिए नहीं जाना जाता मित्रों, वो अपने चहुं ओर विकास के लिए भी जाना जाता है। हमारे प्रथम प्रधानमंत्री पंडित जवाहरलाल नेहरू से लेकर वर्तमान प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी तक जितने भी प्रधानमंत्री आए, वो चंद महीनों के लिए आए हों, चंद वर्षों के लिए आए हों या बड़े वर्षों के लिए आए, उनका कार्यकाल कितना भी छोटा या बड़ा रहा हो, हर एक ने भारत के विकास और प्रगति में अपना योगदान दिया है। और वो इस कारण हुआ कि एक सोच सबकी साझी थी। और वो सोच क्या थी? हमारे किसी भी प्रधानमंत्री ने विकास को किसी भी विवाद का बंधक नहीं बनने दिया। हमने विकास को विवादों की बलि नहीं चढ़ाया। जब जिंदगी है तो विवाद तो रहते हैं, परिवार में भी रहते हैं। दुनिया इतनी बड़ी है, इतना बड़ा विश्व है, पार्टियों में आंतरिक विवाद भी रहते हैं, अन्य पार्टियों के साथ भी विवाद रहते हैं, अन्य देशों के साथ भी विवाद रहते हैं। लेकिन जो मुल्क, जो देश अपने विकास को विवाद का बंधक बना देते हैं, वो देश पीछे रह जाते हैं और उनका खामियाजा कितनी पीढ़ियों को भुगतना पड़ता है, इसकी हम कल्पना नहीं कर सकते। लेकिन हमने, हर प्रधानमंत्री ने यह तय किया कि विवादों को सुलझाने के लिए एक अलग तंत्र बना दो, डिफरेंट मैकेनिज्म्स बना दो, अलग व्यवस्थाएं खड़ी कर दो। साथ के साथ वो विवाद हल करते रहेंगे, लेकिन उन विवादों के चलते विकास को अवरुद्ध मत करो। और यही कारण है कि सबसे पहले हमारे सामने चुनौती थी खाद्यान्न में आत्मनिर्भर होने की। खाद्यान्न में आत्मनिर्भर बनाया और आज कोई भी क्षेत्र आप उठाइए, कृषि, उद्योग, विज्ञान, अंतरिक्ष, हर जगह भारत ने जो विकास किया उसे लोग स्वीकार करते हैं, दुनिया स्वीकार करती है। हमने कौन कौन सी चुनौती नहीं सही। आतंकवाद की चुनौती का सामना हम करते हैं, सीमा विवादों का सामना हम करते हैं, लेकिन उन विवादों का हल एक तरफ से होता रहता है। अभी अभी जो बात मैं कह रही हूं उसका अभी अभी का ताजा उदाहरण है जीएसटी का पास होना। बहुत राजनीतिक दलों के साथ बहुत तरह के विवाद हैं, हमारे मतभेद हैं। जीएसटी के पास होने के समय भी थे, आज भी हैं, उससे पहले भी थे, लेकिन तय किया कि अगर गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज टैक्स जैसा रिफॉर्म भारत कर ले तो भारत की आर्थिक विकास और प्रगति की गति 2 गुनी नहीं 100 गुनी हो जाएगी। तो वो तमाम मतभेदों को बरकरार रखते हुए, सुलझाकर नहीं, न सुलझाने की प्रतीक्षा की, उन मतभेदों को बरकरार रखते हुए हमने जीएसटी पास किया। और इसीलिए प्रधानमंत्री जब जीएसटी के बारे में बोलते हैं वो कहते हैं इसका श्रेय मुझे नहीं है, इसका श्रेय मेरी पार्टी को नहीं है, इसका श्रेय मेरे एनडीए को नहीं है, इसका श्रेय केवल केंद्र सरकार को भी नहीं है, इसका श्रेय समस्त देश के राजनीतिक दलों को है, इसका श्रेय जीएसटी काउंसिल में बैठे हुए हर उस वित्त मंत्री को है जो अलग अलग राज्यों का प्रतिनिधित्व कर रहा था, और समस्त देशवासियों की जनभावना को है जिन्होंने लोगों को कहा कि आप इसको पास करिए। तो एक राष्ट्र और एक जन वाला राष्ट्र आज एक राष्ट्र और एक कर वाला राष्ट्र बन गया। इसलिए यह विकास गाथा बहुत लंबी है। मैं सिर्फ आपके सामने एक ही बात कहना चाहूंगी कि लोकतांत्रिक पद्धति नेपाल में आई है, हम सब उसकी सफलता की कामना करते हैं।
With that, we're wrapping up this edition of the newscast. Thanks for joining us here on WION. My colleague Saleh picks up on the other side with more news and updates. Stay tuned.